Good Monday morning. Let's take a look at what we've lined up for you on today's show.
Today, Dr. Dan Thompson's guest is Dr. Greg Hanzlacek, Director of Production Animal Field Investigations at the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at Kansas State University. They'll be discussing anaplasmosis in cows. Learn how this bacteria attacks red blood cells, what the clinical signs of the disease are, how it's transmitted, what treatments are available, and how to prevent this disease in your herd. Stay tuned for all this and more after the break.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
Ag AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by Kansas Pork Association, assisting producers and informing consumers.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Greg Hanzlacek. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Dr. Thompson.
Always good to have you. Dr. Hanzlacek is the Director of Production Animal Field Investigations here at the Veterinary Diagnostic Lab at Kansas State University. We're going to talk about something that's increasing, at least it seems like to me, in awareness and clinical cases in our cow herds, and that's anaplasmosis.
That's exactly right. We used to think of it as a southeastern and upper northern western part of the United States problem, but it is a huge issue in the Midwest, particularly in southeast Kansas and western Missouri.
Yeah, it's one of those things, when I went through veterinary school, we learned it as kind of a tropical disease, and now, here we go, we start seeing cases, clinical cases of it out here in our cow herd. So what is anaplasmosis?
Well, it's a bacteria. And it's a bacteria that specifically attacks the red blood cells of the cattle.
So if we attack the red blood cells of the cattle,
then the spleen recognizes the red blood cells as being foreign, and so the spleen removes the red blood cells from the animal. The animal becomes anemic. It basically has no oxygen carrying capability, and that's where you start seeing the clinical signs.
So we get this bacteria into our cow. We knock out the red cells, and the red cells are really important in carrying oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body.
That's exactly right.
Well, we talked a little bit about the geographical location. What are some of the things, can it be subclinical? Meaning that we don't see the clinical signs?
It can be, and that's specifically in animals that have gone through the infection and recovered.
Okay.
They will be carriers for the rest of their life, and they will be subclinical. You will not see those animals ever have the clinical signs again.
And the importance of this then, beyond the, we'll get into some of the clinical signs and the clinical manifestation, but what are some of the things that, do we see production losses and things to that nature when we get into this with cow herds?
We can. The literature talks about fever and loss of milk production, those kind of things, but we typically don't see that. What we start seeing are just sick adult cows. And that's the neat thing, or maybe not the neat thing about the disease, is that the younger animals less than a year of age, they do not show clinical signs even if they're infected. It is as the older animals are the ones that are going to show the clinical signs.
And any reasoning for that? Or
the older animals, those older cows, they're able to regenerate those red blood cells is less than a calf that's under age of 1 year of age.
So it gets back to kind of like when you have young people versus older people, and the healing capacity and the ability to stay healthy just recover so much quicker.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a pretty cool disease.
It is. Well, I appreciate you being here today. We're going to discuss more about anaplasmosis, get into some of the clinical signs, treatments, and prevention, and we'll come back after the break. We sure appreciate you watching Doc Talk, and we'll see you here in a minute.
Get ready for the Kicker Country Stampede presented by Verizon Wireless, starring Jason Aldean, Trace Atkins. 4 days of camping and country music at Country Stampede, Little Big Town. The Pistol Annies featuring Ashley Monroe, Miranda Lambert, and Angelina Presley. Country Stampede. Take advantage of our current pricing. Use Easy Pay to split up your payments. Save money through April 30th with early bird pricing. More info at countrystampede.com.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Purple Wave is a proud supporter of the Kansas FFA through the Bid for Blue program. Purple Wave donates a portion of the proceeds earned on certain ag assets to the Kansas FFA. Winning bidders can designate a Kansas chapter to receive the donation. To date, Purple Wave is proud to have donated over $10,000. Visit purplewave.com to learn more and to place bids on Bid for Blue assets. Purple Wave Auction. Straight, simple, sold.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment is brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Stop by or visit us at sftmeats.com.
Hi there and welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Greg Hanslachek, who's a veterinarian, and he is the Director of Production Animal Field Investigations for the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory here at Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. And Greg, we're talking about anaplasmosis in cows. And we kind of left at the end talking about the difference in younger and older animals or older cows and clinical disease. But let's just kind of march through the yearling stock and younger, and then the 2 to 3 year olds, and then the older cows.
Okay.
What we're going to see if we think we have anaplasmosis.
Okay, and because this is a bacteria and it's in red blood cells, anything that moves red blood cells from an infected animal to a non-infected animal is the way it's going to be transferred. So we're talking mosquitoes, stable flies, needles, tattoo pliers, those kind of things. So what I'm saying is once you get it in the herd, then the whole herd has the anaplasmosis, but the younger calves, they just act normal.
Okay, so they could have the disease or have the bacteria on board, and because their ability to regenerate these red cells, they aren't going to show clinical signs.
That's right. And then the animals, say under 2 years of age, they'll show some of the clinical signs such as constipation, maybe abortion, talked about the low production, those kind of things, but they typically do not die. It's the older cows. They show the clinical signs, and if you move them or stress them because their body is so starved for oxygen, a good percentage of those animals have a tendency to die.
Gotcha. So when we're looking for if you're going through I got a cow in the chute, which we hope to get them to the chute.
Right.
With anaplasmosis. But if I have a cow up close, what are some of the things I'm looking that animal over and kind of looking at the, gums, eyes, different things to that nature?
That's an excellent question. Early on, they'll have pale. The white membranes around the eyes and around the vulva will be pale. A lot of times they'll be open mouth breathing. They'll act like they have pneumonia because their body's saying we need more oxygen, we need more oxygen. If you're walking them slowly, they'll be stumbling. They'll be falling down like they've been through the bar too long.
Yep.
And then later on, their tissues will start to turn yellow.
So they get that jaundice.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's from the breakdown of those red cells and that coming out into the fat and different areas of the body. So younger animals, not a problem. 2 to 3 years old, we're going to start to see a little bit of the clinical signs. And then we get to those older animals. One of the things we talked about during the break that I thought was pretty interesting is how you can have a cow that's, docile and friendly, but as you were explaining earlier, they start to get starved of oxygen, they're maybe not so friendly.
That's exactly right, and that's what we tell producers. If you have anaplasmosis in your herd, one of the biggest dangers are those animals absolutely become aggressive because their brain's starved for oxygen and they're not thinking right, they're not performing right, but they will take you, your horse, the pickup.
Yeah.
So very dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, very interesting bacterial infection, very interesting disease. And when we come back, we'll start to jump into what we're going to do to treat it, and then more importantly, how we're going to prevent it. Sure appreciate you being here. Appreciate you all watching Doc Talk today. When we come back, more with Dr. Greg Hanzlachek talking about anaplasmosis. We're sure glad you joined.
Ag AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
We've been using Multi-Min for about 7 years. It's one of the most multi-use products that we have here on the farm. Bulls, cows, calves, weaning age cattle, just about everything on the place. If they go through the chute, they get a shot of it. The primary use that we started Multi-Min was in our donor program, in our embryo transplant program. I'd recommend Multi-Min to any producer in the cattle business. Here at Deer Valley, every animal that goes through the chute gets a dose of Multi-Min.
Dr. Dan here. Whether I'm driving up and down the roads covering the state of Kansas, or I'm getting between Riley and Manhattan for my job, I'm driving a Ford truck. I'd like you to come out and visit my friends here at Dick Edwards Ford. They have a truck that'll suit your needs, whether you're looking for power with a Power Stroke diesel, or if you're looking for fuel efficiency with the new EcoBoost engine, they got a truck that's just right for you. They're located 2 miles east of the Town Center Mall in Manhattan, Kansas, and they'll bend over backwards to help you. And I'll see you down the road.
Get ready for the Kicker Country Stampede presented by Verizon Wireless, starring Jason Aldean. Race Atkins. 4 days of camping and country music at Country Stampede, Little Big Town. The Pistolantes featuring Ashley Monroe, Miranda Lambert, and Angelina Presley. Country Stampede. Take advantage of our current pricing. Use Easy Pay to split up your payments. Save money through April 30th with early bird pricing. More info at countrystampede.com.
Roy Fry Western Lifestyles brings the cowboy or cowgirl out in all of us. With a huge selection of must-have items, it doesn't matter if you're shopping for your horse, picking up some Western accessories to add that rustic charm to your home, or simply treating yourself. The knowledge and expertise to dress you your Western best is right here at Roy Fry Western Lifestyles, Highway 24 and Kansas Avenue in Topeka.
Now, another gardening tip with Annette Jackson.
Early spring is the best time to plant many of the cool season garden vegetables for your dinner table, finishing in just 4 to 12 weeks. Plant homegrown cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, lettuce, and onion plants in your garden or container. Homegrown, hardy, and healthy plants are now available at Jackson's.
Use Fertilome Gardener Special Fertilizer for your garden, or Fertilome Blooming and Rooting Water Soluble for your containers for best production.
American innovation is being driven in places you might not expect by people like Brent Hayek, an Oklahoma family farmer, who recently set a world land speed record in a Ford Super Duty pickup truck powered by renewable B20 biodiesel. Advanced performance is here, now, putting America on the fast track to more jobs and energy independence. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
This segment is brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the Yellow Brick Road.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, and I'm joined by the Director of Production Animal Field Investigations for our Veterinary Diagnostic Lab here at K-State, Dr. Greg Hanzlachek. And Greg, we're talking about anaplasmosis in cows, and we've talked about what it is, what the cows are going to look like, and now we need to treat them. So let's start out with gathering them. What are some of the things, pitfalls, things that producers need to think about when they're handling these oxygen-deprived cows?
Wild cowboys equals dead cows.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, dogs, moving those animals fast will kill off a certain percentage of the old cows. So walking them very, very slowly to the chute is the best thing to do.
Got to take your time. Got to let the animal catch its breath, stay oxygenated, get it to the chute. Okay, when we get it to the chute, of course, we want to make sure that our producers are working with their local veterinarian. We always recommend to work with our alumni and beyond. and that. But what are some of the different philosophies in treatment of these cows? Are they treatable?
They are treatable, and the basic tetracyclines, so LA200, biomycin, those tetracyclines at labeled dosage will reduce the number of parasites in the red blood cells. So the treatment's it's pretty rapid, and it's a pretty good treatment for reducing the clinical signs in these animals.
So is there any, we have feed grade tetracyclines. Is that something that's enough for treatment, or is that something, I mean, you don't know if you get it in the animal.
Right.
But,
well, and as you know, feed grade antibiotics, you can't go off label. So
right.
You can't feed it for another reason. You can't feed them more, you can't feed them less. And to my knowledge, the labeled antibiotics per feed say for the control of anaplasmosis. So it's
not
basic,
for the treatment.
It's not for the treatment, it's for the control, whatever that means. So if you have a herd that has clinical anaplasmosis, you're better off going with the injectable type.
Get them in. And sometimes, treat everybody or treat a portion of them, or just treat the ones showing the clinical signs?
I would use your veterinarian's
Gotcha.
recommendation on that, because everybody has their own experience and their own recommendations, and I would just use your local veterinarian for that.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong there. Well, let's jump into some of the prevention then. I know we're gonna go to break here after a bit, but let's go ahead and start in with some of the prevention. Is there a vaccine for anaplasmosis?
There is a vaccine. In the United States, there's one vaccine. It's a killed product. It's on a provisional license from the USDA, meaning USDA says you haven't gone through all the hoops to prove that it works, but we recognize there's a need. It's approved state by state. So if a producer wants to use it, they get a hold of their practitioner. He calls the state veterinarian. The state veterinarian says, yes, you can use it, or no, you can't.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good place to pause for a break. And when we come back, we'll follow up on prevention and some of the things, biosecurity and different things that producers need to know as we're moving forward. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate what you do for Kansas State University. And we'll come back to you guys in a minute. Thanks for watching Doc Talk this morning, and we'll see you here after the break.
Ag AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by Premier Farm and Home. Stop by or visit us at haycow.com.
This is the fast track to more jobs and America's energy independence. Advanced performance is here now. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Tar Waters has what you need for all seasons for around the farm and home. Working, hunting, growing, feeding, snow removal, even fun for the kids. And a service department with experienced techs to help keep your equipment in top running condition. Tar Waters has a huge selection and the best prices. Tar Water Farm and Home, family owned and operated since 1978. They have what you need.
Ag AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by K-State Research and Extension. Knowledge for life.
A few of us had the opportunity to attend the Southern Plains Drought Summit in Pratt, Kansas, and meet up with a few of the presenters, one of which was Keith Harmony, a range scientist with the Ag Research Center in Hays, Kansas. Harmony informs producers that during a drought, the quality of grass is more important than the quantity, which would lead to a lower performance rate.
During drought years, as long as they have enough forage, they should have good performance. It's when our cattle run out of forage, if they are having to graze on prior year's residual forage, that's old dormant grass that is of lower quality, then they probably could have lower animal performance.
With Ag AM in Kansas, I'm Devin Stewart.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
Golf Week calls it the best course you can play in Kansas. But once you play, you'll want to stay. Go for it. Firekeeper Golf Course at Prairie Band Casino and Resort is just north of Topeka off Highway 75. Our stay and play package is worth the trip. Luxury hotel room, green fees, and golf cart for two, starting at just $169.
Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Go for it!
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
This segment is brought to you by Roy Fry Western Lifestyles, dressing Northeast Kansas their Western best for almost 60 years.
Hi there, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Greg Hanslachek. And Dr. Hanslachek is the Director of Production Animal Field Investigations here at Kansas State University's Veterinary Diagnostic Lab. And we've been having a discussion on anaplasmosis in beef cattle. Talked about what it is. It's a bacteria that affects the red blood cells, which decreases oxygen carrying capacity of these critters. And we've talked about the clinical signs and what we look for and how we're going to treat it, but really prevention's the key. And some of the things that we talked about, we've already talked about the vaccine. Now let's talk about other methods of control.
And so it's biosecurity.
Biosecurity and of blood, right?
Yes, and first of all, do not bring animals in from the outside if you do not know what their anaplasmosis status is, because you're going to be doing things to those animals that transfer blood, unless you're changing needles between each animal and those kind of things. So keeping it out of the herd in the first place is probably the best step.
Yep. So if you don't have it and you bring an animal that does in, we're going to have problems with your animals at the house, and vice versa. If you bring in animals that haven't been exposed to it and you have it in your herd, there could be some issues. So the prevention of blood from an infected animal to the blood of a non-infected animal is the key.
That's exactly right.
So what are some of the things we think about there?
Well, fly control. I
You
mean,
bet.
the best we can, and it's stable flies and horse flies, which our fly control isn't really that great for those insects, but still fly control is important. At least disinfecting or changing needles between animals if you have it, that way you're not transferring it. If you're using tattoo pliers, disinfect the pliers between calves, those kind, anything to keep the blood from contaminating it.
And what it's doing is to some of us is things that people that when you know, back in the 80s and things like that, the people that lived in the Florida and South Texas and Western U.S. region, they were having to do all the time, changing needles. You know, we'd always hear the stories about anaplasmosis in those climates, and so, you know, it's something that may be new to us, but it's not new to a lot of folks.
That's exactly right.
But disinfect your equipment, castration knives, Newbery knife,
anything that gets bloody needs to be disinfected.
Any kind of disinfectant that's better one than the other? Or?
Not really. Just get the blood off. Even pure water is okay. Just get the blood off before you go to the next animal.
And it's important to note that you know, this isn't a zoonotic disease.
It is not.
Okay, so it's not something that that contact with the blood of cattle from anaplasmosis, a human being won't get that. Not this
anaplasmosis organism. You're exactly right. It is not transferred.
There is a human, but human to human, not animals to humans.
That's exactly right.
Well, we sure appreciate you being on the show today. It's always a pleasure to have you. Always good information, and hope to have you back soon.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you watching Doc Talk as well. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian, and if you'd like to know more about what Dr. Hanslachek and I do here at Kansas State University, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson from Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. You've been watching Doc Talk today. We're sure glad you joined us, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.